These are the new details emerging about Hayden Panettiere's death, and they change the story in ways her fans need to hear. Zach Hickerson found her, his brother Brian was asleep in another room, and dispatch audio caught the word overdose before anyone official confirmed a thing. That's the shape of what's known right now, and there's a lot more underneath it. Police and EMS arrived within minutes, somewhere around 1:50 to 1:58 in the afternoon, depending on which report you're reading, and what they found was chaos. Firefighters and paramedics from Medic 24 were already performing CPR when officers walked in, working on a woman who, according to the responding officer's own notes, didn't seem to have any obvious physical reason to be unresponsive. That's the detail that stops people, because it means whatever happened to Hayden Panettiere left no visible sign on her body, nothing an officer could point to and explain on the spot. The crews kept working for an extended stretch before anyone called it, and at 2:31 in the afternoon, she was pronounced dead. Officer Matthew Bryan, the one who responded, left behind notes that paint an unsettling picture of the two brothers in that hallway. Zach, he wrote, was very emotional while paramedics worked on Hayden, someone he referred to simply as his brother's girlfriend. Brian, on the other hand, didn't show emotion, not according to the officer, not until the moment he was told she had died. Make of that what you will, but it's now part of the official record, and it's exactly the kind of detail that fuels speculation the family has since had to sit with. What Brian did next is where this gets stranger. He pulled out a bag of medication that Hayden had allegedly been taking and handed it to police. The names on that list were redacted in the report that eventually leaked, but investigators counted 9 separate drugs inside it. Nobody has said whether any of them played a role in her death, and there's currently no evidence she'd taken anything illegal that day. But the sheer number sitting in that bag became one of the first hard facts to leak out of an otherwise locked-down investigation. Alongside it, Narcan turned up in the apartment, the nasal spray used to reverse opioid overdoses, and the device that dispenses it was reportedly sitting on a mattress. Whether it was actually used on Hayden that day is still unclear, and epinephrine was also administered at the scene, which lines up with a 911 call that described a woman in cardiac arrest rather than a straightforward overdose. By the next morning, the Greenville County Coroner's Office had completed an autopsy, and Coroner Mike Ellis confirmed something specific: no visible injuries, no signs of trauma anywhere on her body. Investigators still said the preliminary findings pointed away from foul play, but the official cause and manner of death remain pending, waiting on toxicology results that haven't come back yet. Meanwhile, police went hunting for more evidence, and they found it sitting on a security camera. The apartment complex has a courtesy officer, the kind of on-site security professional who monitors the property, and he told investigators he has CCTV footage showing all 3 of them, Hayden, Brian, and Zach, coming and going before her death. That footage is expected in a supplemental report, and it could be the piece that finally nails down a timeline nobody's been able to pin precisely so far. Now, here's what makes this whole situation land differently once you understand the relationship at its center. Brian and Hayden's history goes back to 2018, and it was never simple. In May of 2019, Hickerson was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence following an incident at their Hollywood home, with bond set at $50,000. He was later ordered to stay away from her, though the case was eventually dismissed. That wasn't the end of it either. Years later, the two of them got tangled in a physical altercation outside a Sunset Strip hotel while he was still on probation. And in the video that leaked from that night, you can hear Hayden trying to talk him down, warning him flat out that he was headed to jail if he didn't stop.
Hayden Panettiere and her boyfriend Brian got into a huge fight with other people at the Sunset Marquee. Witnesses tell TMZ that the fight started inside the hotel bar. Apparently, someone accused Hayden's boyfriend Brian of spitting on them. It got heated, so the manager kicked everyone out. TMZ posted the pictures and videos of the brawl, but basically Hayden was trying to get Brian to stop fighting these people outside. In the video, she kept yelling, "Brian, jail," because apparently he's on probation until 2025. Hayden and Brian are said to have had a tumultuous relationship, and violence has been involved in the past. Hayden got pretty involved while trying to get Brian out of the fight. She was really just trying to take care of her man and make sure he doesn't get hurt and doesn't get into any trouble. But in one part of the video, it looked like she got kicked in the head. But in the end, the other group left, and Hayden apparently went inside to apologize to the staff. And I don't think anybody was seriously injured, and TMZ reports that the cops showed up too late, so nobody got in trouble. But you can see the full video on TMZ.
They broke up, reportedly sometime around 2020 or 2022, depending on the source, and for a while it looked like Hayden had moved on for good. Then in March of 2026, paparazzi caught them together at LAX, Brian walking alongside her while she used crutches for a back injury. And just like that, the reconciliation rumors started again. What almost nobody knew was that those rumors were true and that Hayden had gone out of her way to keep it that way. Sources say she kept the reunion hidden from many of her own friends, and one insider put it simply: if Brian was back in her life, it was something she was hiding because she wasn't talking about it with the people closest to her. The theory floating around is shame, the idea that once you've lived through something painful with someone and told your friends about it, going back feels like something you'd rather not explain twice. There's a business angle here too, and it's a cynical one. A separate source claims the couple was quietly back together while Hayden was out promoting her memoir earlier this year, and that her own team pushed for secrecy because Hickerson was, in their words, bad for business. It's not hard to see why. Several chapters of that book detail the abuse she says she suffered at his hands, and having the accused ex standing next to her on a press tour would have undercut the entire narrative she was trying to control. Hickerson himself has admitted there was at least one incident he asked her to leave out of the book entirely, a story involving him drunk, a phone in his hand, and a threat to throw it at her if she didn't run. She kept it in anyway. That's the environment the two of them were rebuilding a relationship inside of, right up until the weekend she died in his apartment. Since her death, Hickerson has said nothing publicly, and neither has his brother. His Instagram profile, which was still active when the news of her death first broke, has since vanished entirely, and nobody's confirmed who took it down or why. Then there's Hayden's mother, Leslie Vogel, whose relationship with her daughter had collapsed long before any of this happened. Vogel managed Hayden's career when she was a child actress, and according to Hayden's own memoir, that dynamic never fully went away, even decades later. She described feeling like her mother's assistant, her confidant, her therapist, all rolled into one, and she wrote about firing her mother as her manager during a lunch break on the set of Heroes. When Hayden told her she just wanted her to be her mom, Vogel's entire response, according to the book, was 2 words: "You owe me." Then she walked out. Hayden said that moment left her wondering for years what exactly she was supposed to owe, what kind of payment her mother thought she was still collecting. The estrangement was real, and it was recent. At one point, Vogel reportedly went no contact with her own daughter, and when the memoir came out this past May, detailing years of alleged mistreatment, including a claim that Vogel once superglued a fallen tooth back into young Hayden's mouth so she wouldn't miss a job, Vogel pushed back publicly, suggesting the drama was partly there to help sell books. That was the state of things before Hayden died. Afterward, Vogel gave her first interview to NBC News, and what she said was complicated, part tribute, part indictment. She called her daughter amazingly talented, acknowledged how brutal the entertainment industry can be on people who grow up inside it, and said Hayden had sadly lost her way. Then she turned her attention to Hickerson directly, telling NBC that this was a person in Hayden's life the family had been trying to get rid of for a long time, and that he was the one with her at the moment she died. Vogel also picked up on something the timing itself suggested. She pointed out that the hour of the 911 call wasn't exactly the kind of hour people are usually out partying, a small detail, but one that hints at how she's trying to make sense of what actually happened inside that apartment. And in a strange, quiet moment near the end of her comments, Vogel said she believed Hayden was now with her brother, at peace. That's a reference to Jensen Panettiere, Hayden's younger brother, who died years earlier after being found unresponsive by a friend, his own death eventually attributed to an enlarged heart and complications with his aortic valve. So here's where all of this actually lands. Hayden Panettiere's official cause of death still hasn't been determined and won't be until toxicology results come back. What's on the record so far is a bag of 9 unidentified medications, a canister of Narcan on a mattress, a boyfriend with a documented history of hurting her who didn't show emotion until she was already gone, and a mother who's now speaking publicly about a relationship the family had spent years trying to end. None of that adds up to an answer yet. But it's the clearest picture anyone has of the final hours of a woman who spent the last months of her life trying to tell her own story, honestly. In a memoir she refused to sanitize, even when the people in it asked her to.